No deal.
Big deal, no deal. Brought to you by Brady Industries, a provider of commercial cleaning supplies and equipment throughout the western United States for over 65 years. Brady Industries, clean solutions, a tradition for generations. And I like using the word tradition this week because of the Masters.
Unlike any other.
A tradition for generations. Number one.
Big deal, no deal. No love for BYU from Joe Lenardi in his first bracket of the 2017 season.
No deal. It's April. It's all good. I'm not sure Joe understands the dynamic of all the missionaries coming back and who's what and wherever. 5 top 100 guys. 2 to me will come off the bench, at least at the beginning. That's a talented team. I see BYU making the NCAA tournament. I'm not going to call single-digit seed like you last year, but they're going to get in. They'll be in the NCAA tournament. If they're not, huge disappointment.
You had to reopen that wound, didn't you?
Yeah.
You had to go back to the single-digit seed.
I don't know why I had to call you out there.
Yeah, it's absolutely no deal for me, and I'm kind of just going to Pac-Man your comments, man. I agree with all of that. I think Joe Lenardi is focused on what just happened. Kyle Collinsworth is graduated. Chase Fisher, the leading scorer this year, graduating, and so he's not seeing what we all see as BYU basketball insiders. It's no deal for me. Number 2.
Big deal, no deal. Yoli Childs tells BYU Sports Nation the goal is a national title.
No deal, because this is a high school kid who has great ambition. I don't see it as anything. I see it as harmless, right? He has great ambition with what BYU could do. The Final Four to me is like the goal out there for BYU, like the New Year's Six. Out there, kind of, right, for BYU football. So I'll go no deal. Yoli's ambitious. This is a kid that knows he's going to play with some talented folks. He told us yesterday, TJ Haas scored 42 against Bingham in the state quarterfinal. Like, he's seen the talent that's on the team, so he's confident this team's going to be good. So are we.
I say big deal, not because I disagree with you necessarily, just from a different perspective that I like the mentality that Yoli Childs brings to BYU.
I got you.
It would be no deal. It would be a big deal in a bad way if he was like, well, we're going to play hard and
yeah.
I mean, I like his mentality. He's a super focused kid. So if he says something like that after he already established, look, the first goal, win the league, get in the tournament. Eventually, we want to compete for a national championship.
We keep showing highlights of him like dunking on my high school, Copper Hills. Is there any way that we can like get rid of those specific ones? We have lots of other highlights, right?
Number 3.
Big deal, no deal. Austin Collie retires from professional football.
I'm going to go big deal. We've known about this for a couple months. He told us on BYU Sports Nation, somewhat broke the news to us a few months ago that he was planning on retiring, and that was like, oh, what? I'll go big deal because, to me, Austin Collie is the greatest receiver in BYU history. Left after his junior year, 1,500 yards, battled with Michael Crabtree, was having a fantastic career with the Colts and Peyton Manning. In fact, he was leading the NFL through week 6 in touchdowns and receiving yards one season, and then concussions just ruined his career. To me, he could have been the best non-quarterback skill position player in BYU history in the NFL, but concussions took it away. So I say big deal because, to me, it's sad that the official finish has now come for Austin Collie and football.
Before Austin Collie, do you know who the last wide receiver taken in the NFL draft was from BYU?
It was a dude in the 80s, right?
It was Glenn Kozlowski.
Yeah, and that is ridiculous. BYU's had some good receivers, but they've just not made it to the NFL.
Austin Collie. I say this is a big deal because Austin is now getting involved with concussion research, and he's going to put out a big front right there to try and help football players prepare for this, to study about it, to know more about it, because he suffered from it. He dealt with it a lot. I think this is a big deal because Austin is a guy that became a name in the NFL for a while that people will respect and that they remember him. I think he's going to do good things with this.
It hurt. In the afterlife, I want to see what he would have done. That's one of the things. That's like request number 285.
One of the great mysteries.
I want to see what he would have done. And I want to learn more about dinosaurs.
Number 4.
Big deal, no deal. Bronson Kafusi's scheduled to work out for 8 NFL teams in the next 2 weeks.
Ooh. No deal. I expected this to happen with Bronson Kafusi. If you said all 30 or something, he's a legit prospect. He's a good player. He's a day 2 dude. So to me, I'm not surprised. Therefore, I go, it's a big deal for him, but I go no deal in terms of my expectations for him.
Number 82 in the Spark ratings as the 82nd best player in the draft, according to that column. I say this is a big deal because it just furthers the point that Bronson is going to increase his draft stock. The more teams he works out for, the more chances he has to impress one of those teams and jump up from, let's say, the 4th round to the 3rd round, or maybe even the 3rd round to late 2nd round. I don't know what's going to happen. His numbers have been really good. Talking with his family, they all say that things have been very favorable for Bronson. So this is good. The more you work out for teams, the higher you're going to get drafted and the more money you're going to get paid.
Hopefully.
Number 5.
Big deal, no deal. BYU volleyball controlling their own tournament hosting destiny.
Oh, this is a really big deal. BYU is really tough to beat in Provo. In fact, the 2 matches they've lost, they blew it. They really did. They couldn't serve the ball well. Sean Olmstead in that interview we played a couple days ago was really mad because they didn't keep the ball in. So if BYU can beat USC twice, win the quarterfinal, and host the semis and final, it's going to be good news for BYU. I'm not sure that they've ever lost the tournament when they've hosted.
Wow.
Which means that they will get an auto bid, or at least an at-large, to Penn State in the NCAA tournament. And now you've got to win 2 matches, maybe 3, depending on if you're outside the top 2 seeds, to win the NCAA tournament, to win the championship. This team is championship good, and if they can host, that really helps.
If they've never lost when they've hosted,
I don't think they have. Maybe they have.
Then that little nugget alone may have swayed me, but I am still leaning towards no deal because BYU has been so good on the road this year. So if they didn't host, I'd be just as confident in their ability to go anywhere and win the MPSF tournament.
If they didn't host, that means they lost to USC. Yeah. USC's been terrible.
Now that's a big deal, but just in terms of
USC's 7-17.
Being able to host, like BYU's been so good away from home.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel that big of a deal to me.
It's weird. I feel the same way too. I'm like, oh, they serve way better on the road.
Oh, and there's one more thing before we end this.
Countdown to the Wildcats.
148.
That's the real countdown. Forget countdown to Selection Sunday.
Yeah.
338 days away.
I kind of got bummed thinking about Austin Collier here. It kind of bummed me out because he was so good. I wish he could have been healthy.
Go back and watch his college highlights, BYU fans.
That will put me in a way better mood.
So talented.
I just feel bad. Like we couldn't really see what he could do.
BYU in Arizona. I'm guaranteeing Austin Collier will be watching that season opening game. 148 days away.